So unironically, one of my favorite singles of this entire year is the song Zombie from Youngblood that just released, and it's dedicated to people who work in health service, specifically nurses, and it had a really beautiful accompanying video, and honestly, I have actually been someone that's been a fan of Youngblood for quite some time. I've really liked his messaging, I've liked the things that he puts on the map, I've liked the way that he uses his platform for genuinely good, and he just seems like a really personable and well-spoken, articulate guy who understands his position and tries to put it out there in the best way possible. He's always talking about communities that need help, he's always filtering his music through the lens of talking about these groups that don't necessarily get their messages put out there on a mainstream platform that often, especially when it comes to the scenes that he comes from. I just wanted to kind of give him some love because in the grand scheme of modern like emo and pop punk, it's really easy to see a lot of people who feel almost industry plant-like. I don't really like throwing that term around, but you also have people like TX2 who just are a shit stain on the community and constantly put it down in a really destructive way through their own little merchandising and marketing schemes that they put into their music, and unfortunately there are a lot of TX2s, and even though MGK is kind of a dickweed and fucked up with the killshot stuff, I respect the fact that he stands on business and is a really talented, multifaceted dude that really puts a lot of love into his covers recently, that puts a lot of love into his music recently. But Youngblood, I do not consider on the same level as people like TX2 and MGK. I find him on a completely higher level than both of them. He is so enthusiastic, he's so high energy, he's so willing to stand up for other people, he has a really loving relationship towards his fan base and almost like a protective nature to a lot of his fan base, and you can see that a lot of the people that drift towards him are very much outcasts, are very much people who have struggled, are people with trauma or things that have just messed their lives up. And I think he's only gotten more and more mature as a songwriter throughout time. When I heard Zombie, I was really blown away with how understated his vocal performance was at the start of it. Obviously the chorus is more status quo of what you would get from a lot of Youngblood, but it really reminded me of like the song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. It's that 2000s really emotionally driven alternative rock music that I fell in love with growing up from bands like Breaking Benjamin and bands like the Goo Goo Dolls and a ton of other bands that really encapsulated sort of that post-grunge-ism of the 1990s and 2000s. And obviously Youngblood isn't pulling from that entirely, but how anthemic and how cinematic it was, how beautiful the video was, how meticulous it was, specifically with like Florence being in it and all that sort of stuff. I just think the whole progression of the song feels very mature, and it shows that Youngblood is not necessarily the same like screamy, raspy British boy that he used to be. A lot of his music in the past kind of boiled down to being a little one note in terms of vocal performance, but even then I feel like a lot of his songs like God Save Me But Don't Drown Me Out and especially Mars not only had really important messages that meant a lot to a ton of people and genuinely served as a lifeline for a lot of people, they definitely showed that he was a bit a cut above the rest when it came to modern pop punk and emo vocalists that just tried to rip off a lot of what you got in the mid to late 2000s and that sort of MySpace scene that was so big at the time. Youngblood has always stood out, and he's always kind of stuck out like a sore thumb in my opinion, and even if a lot of his music doesn't hit immediately for me, I do appreciate the fact that he is unique. He is not afraid to tackle topics that a lot of other people try to in his space, but don't feel nearly as genuine and heartfelt and heartwarming as he does. Because even when he tackles really deep topics like the song Breakdown or a song like Zombie or a song like Mars, it's done so in a way that has this semblance of hope to it. He's always taken these different moments of pure tragedy and catastrophe that has affected his own life or different communities that he respects or just people in general, and he always balances it out with a great deal of hope and joy and life and trying to find some sort of faith in something. It's never just sappy and depressive full stop, and it's never such an on-the-nose meme tongue-in-cheek like someone like TX2 does, and it's not so kind of firm and stern as a lot of MGK's music, which just hits pretty one note without a lot of the flair. Youngblood packs his music in with these tragedies, but he tries to counterbalance that by saying that there is hope and you can have faith in different things no matter who has hurt you, no matter what you've been through and those challenges, and I think that is a very important figure to have. Someone that isn't afraid to embrace a lot of the parts of himself that a lot of people get critiqued for and put himself out there in a blazingly authentic way that resonates and makes a lot of people relate to him. Incredibly vulnerable in his emotions, incredibly vulnerable in a lot of his songwriting, and he doesn't apologize for any of it, and he puts out a figure that is a very positive role model for a lot of these people that don't necessarily have one. And for the people that are in that scene, their alternatives are people that, in my personal opinion, can a lot of times be pretty destructive and be pretty one-dimensional and not necessarily care about them or the scene nearly as much as Youngblood does. So you can say whatever you want about the guy. I just personally think he's a great role model for a lot of younger people that are a part of his fan base, and I fuck with his messaging a lot. Even if some of his stuff doesn't necessarily hit for me, I respect so much what he is doing and what he's capable of and how he has matured as a songwriter and as a vocalist and continues to improve on every single release that he puts out. But I wanted to hear your guys' opinions of Youngblood and of Zombie. You can let me know down in the comment section below. I can't wait to hear it. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.